Yeah. Hare Krishna, then pranam to all the assembled devotees. So as usual, we'll start our new chapter, Bhagavad Gita chapter 8. And let's start our day by prayers to SRI SRI RADHA GOVINDA and our Guru Parampara. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalitam Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय गुरु परंपरा की जय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all the assembled devotees. I just, as said, updated this Zoom just before this session. This lot of icons are new. I am not even able to see. Usually the participants I could see. I need to now scroll up and down. Okay, let us manage today. So let us start our discussion with a quick recap of our previous session discussions. So who is going ahead today? Just to see some hands raised. Kalpana Mataji, you can go last. Let us give chance to all other devotees, and then you can summarize. Nehadin Jindal Mataji will give you a chance. I want to see a few more hands from our previous session who are all there. Voluntarily, can I see some hands raised? Yeah. So Devika Mataji, you can start.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranam Prabhuji. So we spoke about the empires due to lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Never surrender to Krishna, whereas the pious develop knowledge and they surrender into Krishna. Krishna is saying that leave all the religious activities and surrender onto me, Sarva Dharma Paritajya. And then we also discussed 6 principles of surrendering from Chaitanya, like Charitamrit: acceptance of things which are favorable, rejection of unfavorable things, that is like going against the 4 principles. Conviction and gives us protection. Acceptance that Lord is the only guardian, and then complete dependency on Krishna in good and bad situation, and then being humble. And then we discussed about Dishkritanas and Sukirtanas. And then we discussed that there are two kinds of people who can never go to Krishna. And then Krishna is a Bhakta Vatsal, Prabhuji. When you surrender to Krishna, Krishna also surrenders unto. Prabhuji, I'll let someone else carry on.
Yeah, somebody else can continue.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
So, Praveen, MS Prabhu, you wish to add something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One or two points would like to add.
Yeah.
I think the summary also carries the people who worship the demigods.
Yeah.
So Krishna says that whoever worships the demigods, he will actually uphold their faith, and then satisfy them accordingly. But he also reveals that whatever even the material desires, whatever they sought through demigods, it will still be delivered by Krishna only. So ultimately, the truth is, one has to move beyond, and then exclusively surrender. Whoever exclusively surrenders onto the Lord Krishna, lotus feet, they will get surely attain the adobe
Yes.
of Krishna.
Yes.
And one is this demigod worship, and also people who are ignorant and also the lack of knowledge, Krishna will never manifest to them. So people who are humble, and always people have to should not seek Krishna. I mean, Krishna will reveal rather people who really serve him rather than seeking Krishna. So that is one of the servicing is more of an action. So basically, whoever are determined consistently in serving Lord Krishna, he keep on revealing himself, and at the time of death, they will surely able to remember Krishna's lotus feet, and then attain directly to him.
Yes. Good, Prabhuji. Good point you brought
Yeah,
in.
Hare Krishna,
Jindal
Prabhu.
Mataji, you wish to add?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Pranam. Most of the points are covered, Prabhuji, but what I want to say is we discussed the example of commissioner and policeman in last class,
Yeah.
why demigod worshippers are less intelligent. And we also discussed analogies like watering the root is important and filling the stomach is ultimately very important. And we also discussed in Shloka 7.21 that Krishna makes our faith firm when we worship demigods. So the reason being Krishna does not interfere in our free will. He
Yes.
gives us our free will. And also he gave the example of neighbors and our parents. Parents, Krishna, but the neighbors are the demigods. And we also discussed that we should not run after the piece of glass when we have diamond, that is Krishna, and chanting of the holy name. And we also discussed that that whatever benedictions we get from demigods, ultimately Krishna is the bestower. But and we also discussed demigod worship and devotional services, why they both are not on the same platform. Because demigod benedictions, they are material, hence they are temporary. But devotional service unto Shri Krishna is spiritual in nature and permanent. And we also discussed that whatever desires we have, we should run towards Krishna. But that is on the very neophyte level, not on the pure devotee level. A pure devotee never desires anything. That level is Anyabhilashita Shunyan. And we also discussed that many people have this misconception that whatever demigod they worship, ultimately they will go towards Krishna. So you gave the example of we can't expect mangoes by sowing papaya seeds. So that was the example given. And also we discussed that only Krishna, like Krishna is free from material bondage, Guru is free from material bondage. So only they can uh, untie our ropes, material bondage. So that these were the few things that we discussed.
Good, Mataji. Very important points you brought in. Kalpana Mataji, you have any more points left out?
Almost all
Sorry.
covered, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Ji.
Okay.
Only one point I will just add on, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So initially we started with the demigod worship. People who have lusty material desires, they lose their intelligence and they approach demigods for quick results. As Mataji explained everything, Prabhuji. So finally, demigod worship is not it's perishable and it is not eternal, Prabhuji. And the last is that we should, you explained us that no, we have to know Krishna constantly with determination and faith and association. We have to continue the bhakti till the last breath, and we have to do the sadhana.
Yes. Yes, Mataji. Thank you very much. So one of the key things to take away from chapter 7 is the Duskritinas, four kind of Duskritinas we discussed: Mudas, Naradamas, Mayaya Paratagnanis, Ashram Bhavam. Even the atheistic demons, lowest of mankinds like Jagai Madai, everybody will be delivered, and they all have the possibility to go back to Krishna by the mercy and association of devotees. But two category of people, demigod worshippers and Mayavadis, have no chance to go to Krishna. So this is very, very important to understand. And in fact, yesterday we all celebrated Govardhan Puja. In fact, through Govardhan Leela also, Krishna is trying to give us this knowledge that we should stop demigod worship, right? So all the Brajvasis, Nanda Baba, everybody were worshipping Indra. So through this Leela, Krishna is telling that stop demigod worship and worship the Supreme Lord. This is the key lesson we have to take away. And we will move to the chapter 8, which has about 6 sections. In this, Srila Prabhupada is clearly giving us that through his words that remembering Krishna in devotion throughout one's life is necessary to remember Krishna at the time of death. So the importance of remembering Krishna at time of death we will discuss through this chapter, and we have discussed shlokas such as 8.5 Anta Kale cha mam eva smaran mukta kalevaram. Yeah, so one who remembers Krishna at the time of death will definitely attain the supreme nature and go back to Krishna. And similarly, the sloka 8.6, this also says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So this also, whatever state of being one remembers when he is quitting, he will attain that nature without fail. So here, if you see, the Prabhupada's mission itself is spreading Krishna consciousness, right? Krishna, we hear so much about Krishna consciousness. Through this sloka, Krishna is also telling the importance having Krishna consciousness when we are leaving the body. So that is one of the important things. So how do we remember Krishna at the time of death? The only way is chanting of holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is the significance of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra throughout our life in devotion. When we chant, that is the only way we can remember Krishna at the time of death. This is one important aspect we learn through this chapter. And talking about remembering Krishna, today's material world is such that, in fact, we have heard this story where one old businessman about to leave his body, he has 3 sons. He call out to his one, the elder son, where is he? So he says, I am right in front of you, Papa. These sons are thinking when he's leaving, when his father is leaving, he may give out some of his properties. And he calls out to the second son. He also says, I'm here, Papa. And then third son, where is he? He says, I am also here. Then at the time of death, he's telling you idiots, you are all here. Who is taking care of shop? So even at that moment, he's thinking about the shop. And most likely we have seen he might have taken some such person who is so attached to his property and other thing. They will take such lives in future so that he is protecting. We have seen dogs and many other thing always being in front of some home protecting thing. It could be some of their ancestors, we never know. So that is the point. We are remembering that importance of remembering Krishna at the time of death. And through this chapter, Krishna will give us that knowledge that through Kevala Bhakti, pure devotional service, one can remember Krishna at time of death. And then it also, in this chapter, he also discuss about the Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So through various yogic practices, how one can remember Krishna. And then finally, this chapter concludes with the supremacy of devotion in attaining the Supreme over all other Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So this is how the chapter is planned out. And through this chapter, there are various questions of Arjuna, Krishna is answering. And through chapter 7, what we understood is through the knowledge of the Supreme, one can remember Krishna. So Arjuna is asking these questions. How one can remember that? How to live our life to remember Krishna at the time of death. So this is one thing. And as we discussed in Shloka, that remembering Krishna, we will attain his Krishna's nature, is what it says. What is the nature of Krishna? So we understand that our body is material, whereas Krishna's body is spiritual. So we attain the spiritual nature, we attain the spiritual body and go back to Krishna. So that is the significance of knowing this knowledge, that we need to remember Krishna. And as said, we have to practice all our life to remember. It is not easy. Our material conditioning is so deep that we end up remembering many material things than remembering Krishna. And here the question comes that one, after practicing sincerely all his life, and if he is in such a situation that he is not in a position to remember Krishna at the time of death, what happens to such a devotee? Any answers? One who has practiced all his life, if he is not in a position to remember Krishna, what happens to such a devotee?
Next birth he will take.
Prabhuji, Krishna remembers, even though the devotee may not be in a position to remember.
Yes.
And Krishna remembers, and Krishna takes him through.
Yes.
And he will either attain his lotus feet or be born in a circumstance that he will fulfill that little gap that may remain. But in this context, when he has been a devotee all his life, Prabhuji, Lord will not ignore him. Lord will take him unto himself.
Exactly.
That's what
That is the
happened. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
perfect
Krishna.
answer. Krishna says, Aham smarami mad bhakta. So any such sincere devotee, I will remember my devotees, what Krishna says. That is what one of the Mataji in the beginning said, Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. So even if you are not in such a situation, if you are sincerely practice, Krishna will take care of such devotee. Now let us start our session with the first sloka. So devotees who wish to recite sloka can raise their hands, keep their hands raised, so I can pick one after the other. Kalpana Mataji, you can start first sloka, and other devotees can raise their hand for further slokas.
Hare Krishna. Kim tad Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adibhutam cha kim proktam adidaivam kim uchyate. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So Aryan Prabhu, can you please read this for us? Translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Arjuna inquired, O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is this material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. So here Arjuna is asking question about what is Brahman, what is self, what are fruitive activities, what is the material manifestation, and what are the demigods. Please explain. And as we have learned from Srimad Bhagavatam, that three ways we can experience the Lord, we can realize the Lord. What are the three ways? What are the three features through which we can realize the Lord?
Paramatma and Bhagwan.
Yes. So Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan feature. Here Brahman is also known for living entity, the individual soul. As said, Aham Brahmasmi, knowledge of self is important. And also Arjuna asked about the Atma. So Atma in various contexts as per our scriptures, Atma is also referred to the mind, body and soul as well as the senses. And in this shloka, Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Purushottama. So what is the significance of addressing Krishna as Purushottama here?
Prabhuji has already moved away from the platform of addressing the Lord as friend, and he has fully surrendered to him, and he realizes the Lord's supreme position and says he is the Purushottama, he is the Lord of all, and therefore the relationship has undergone a subtle change from chapter 1 to chapter 8, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
So he is not asking such questions to an ordinary person. He is asking to the supreme person, right? Krishna is the ultimate authority who can give us the definite answers. And through these questions, it is not only Arjuna, through these question and answers, we are all getting this knowledge to perfect our lives, right? So next shloka, who is reciting the next shloka? Yeah, Devika Mataji, you want to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. अधियज्ञः कथः कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथं केयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Aruna Mataji, can you please read the translation for us?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Who is the Lord of sacrifice and how does he live in the body, O Madhusudana? And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. So here the Lord of sacrifice, it either refer to Indra and Vishnu. And we all know Vishnu is the chief of demigod, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, whereas Indra is the chief of is the administrator of the demigod. And here, one more important point is Madhusudana. Why, in what context Arjuna is referring Madhusudana here? Can somebody answer?
Arjuna has some doubts so that Krishna created a demon Madhu, so he will kill Arjuna's doubts.
Yes, Prabhuji. So in this loka, prayana kale is very important, significant word. Yeah. So what it is said is, whatever we do all through our life will be tested at the time of death. Yeah. Why it is said like that? Because all our functions, all our bodily functions get disrupted. We will not be able to fix our mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. And we will not be able to remember if we have not sincerely practiced all our life. So in this context, Arjuna is asking question that in such a situation where our bodily function has disrupted, mind is not able to focus, how we can remember. So for that reason only, Maharaja Kulashekara, a great devotee of the Lord, he says, "Oh my Lord, just now I am quite healthy and I am able to remember you. Please help me. If I can leave my body at this stage, it will be very good for me," is what he's telling. And Prabhupada also says that in this modern day, the death is very cheap. We never know when we have to leave the body. We never even imagine. In fact, last week, one of my very close friend, my childhood friend, is just 2 years older than me. He collapsed one fine day without any issue, without any symptoms. There was a cardiac arrest and he left the body. Nobody is able to believe the person whom we spoke last week today is not there. So the point why I brought it here is the urgency in Krishna consciousness is extremely important. Having come this far, knowing our purpose, knowing the process We need to take this process very seriously. And there is also a quote coming up as we progress, where the most wonderful thing, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he says that hundreds and thousands of people are dying every day, but we think that we are not going to die anytime soon. That is the most wonderful thing. And people are living in this ignorance that I'm not going to die anytime soon. So when we have to face such test, it is said that death is the exam for which we are preparing. And if we have not prepared all our life and we kept on procrastinating, and we have to face death, we are not ready. And we have lost the golden opportunity to go back to Krishna in this lifetime only. So what the point we have to take away from this is the urgency in Krishna consciousness is very, very important. Prabhupada says chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regulative principles, and I will take you back. But the quantity is there, the quality is there. So having come to Bhakti Shastri stage where we are all following 4 regulative principles and chanting for 16 rounds, what is important now is to improve our quality in what we are doing. Yeah, this is the key takeaway. Now we will move to the next sloka. So as said, request the devotees who chant, recite sloka to keep hands raised. So I can pick it up. Neha Mataji, can you please go ahead?
श्रीभगवान् उवाच अक्षरं ब्रह्म परमं स्वभावोऽध्यात्ममुच्यते भूतभावोद्भवाकारो विशाग्रः कर्म संजितः.
Thank you, Mataji. So Jyoti Mataji, can you please read this for us? Jyoti Mataji, are you there? Karuna Mataji, can you please read this for us?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
The Supreme Lord said the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman and his eternal nature is called the Self. Action pertaining to the development of these material bodies is called karma or the fruitive activities. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Again, a very, very, very important sloka. The Brahman, the soul, the Brahman is indestructible. And the Brahman refers to the living entities. And we are Brahman. And here it is mentioned as Parabrahman. Who is Parabrahman? He is the Paramatma within, right? And which is the sloka which says the soul is indestructible from Bhagavadgita? Can anybody remember?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Chindan. I cannot remember the entire thing, but I guess that is the sloka.
Yes.
Nainam Chiddanti Shastrani Nainam Bhavati.
Yeah. So you're all Bhakti Shastri students, and these are all the slokas, important slokas you should memorize, and it will be very helpful for your preaching applications, right? Bhagavad Gita 2.23, Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha. So soul can never cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by wind, is what it is said. And secondly, there is a beautiful definition of karma. What is karma? Okay, what is karma? The action, all our action pertaining to the development of material bodies is called karma. So with this, what we are doing with material consciousness, we are trying to serve the material nature, and in Krishna consciousness only we will be able to serve the Supreme Lord. And through this material consciousness, we end up taking birth in 84 lakh species, and birth after birth we are entangled in this vicious cycle of birth and death. And through purport, when we read Srila Prabhupada purport, Prabhupada gives the process how a living entity is entangled in this cycle of birth and death. So what it says is the living entity performs various sacrifices, pious activities, and he goes to heavenly planets. And when the pious merits are exhausted, then he has to come back. And how he come back and how he goes back is the process. It is mentioned very nicely. It says the living entity descends to this material world in the form of rain, and through the rain the grains are formed, and this grain is eaten by a man, and through the man's semen he impregnates a woman, and the living entity again take birth, and this cycle is going on for millions and millions of years. So the person understanding this knowledge takes up Krishna consciousness, can directly prepare himself to go back to Krishna in this lifetime only. So the next sloka, Kalpana Mataji, can you take up?
Hare Krishna. Adibhutam sharo bhavaha purushaschaदिदैवतम् adiyajnohamevatra dehe dehe mritambara. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So Taruni Mataji, you wish to read the translation?
It's okay. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and the moon, is called Adideva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the Supersoul, is the heart of every embodied being, am called Adi Yagna, the Lord of the sacrifice.
Thank you, Mataji. Nice to see you raising your digital hand. Usually you used to raise the hand in the video, right? Okay, good. And so from here, we are understanding what is Adi Bhuta, Adi Deva, and Adi Yagna. So the material manifestation is Adi Bhuta, and this material nature, it goes through 6 phases of growth. So every living entity goes through these 6 phases of growth. So what we need to understand is the material manifestation is temporary and always keep changing, whereas the spiritual nature is constant. And what are the 6 stages of growth? Do anybody remember what are the 6 stages of growth? So the 6 stages of growth is one takes birth, they grow and remain there for some duration, produce the byproduct, and then gradually start dwindling and then vanish. Right? This is the physical nature which is called as Adi Bhuta. And the conception of the universal form of the Lord is known as, including all the demigods, is known as Adi Deva. And Adi Yagna is the super soul, the supreme Paramatma within us. And supreme soul gives us the individual soul an opportunity, the free will. One of Neha Mataji said that Krishna do not interfere in our free will. So the super soul giving us the free will, sitting within our heart, witness what kind of activity we are taking. Are we taking activity to serve the material nature or the super soul? What we understand. And here, through these 2 sloka 8.3 and 8.4, Krishna addresses the 7 questions what Arjuna has asked. What is Brahman? What is Adhyatma? What is Karma? Adi Bhuta, Adi Deva, Adi Yagna, and where does Adi Yagna resides? The super soul resides within our heart. And the last question is how to remember Krishna at the time of death. The entire chapter revolves around this. That shows the significance of remembering Krishna at the time of death. And all the living entity, irrespective whoever the living entity, have to go through the Trivida Kleshas. So what are the Trivida Kleshas?
आदि देव का आदि भूत का आध्यात्मिक.
Yes, Adhyatmika Klesha, Adi Bhuta Klesha, and Adi Deva. So this has been discussed many times, so we will move further. So Adi Yagna, so the enjoyer of all the sacrifices is the Supreme Lord, and the sloka Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram Suhurdam Sarva Bhutanam Yatvamam Shantim Rachati. So this is the peace formula, the shloka which says the Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer and he is the enjoyer of all the sacrifices. Right? And then we will see further how to remember Krishna at the time of death. So before moving to the next section, there is a breakout room activity planned. That is, what is the connection between chapter 7 and chapter 8? Right? Let me see how to manage this breakout room activity. Yeah, so I said before, as our regular practice, we will break into 3 groups. So one of the volunteers has been selected, and volunteer responsibility to ensure all the participants are participating, and volunteer has to come and present. So wish to see new volunteer. These are all opportunity for you to come out of your comfort zones and participate, because you're all expected to take up this Krishna consciousness preaching in your day-to-day lives, right? So we'll go for 3 groups and request all the participants to join the group. I get to know who is joining, who not joining, so it is all being noted. So please join and participate.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Who's that?
Jyoti, your Prabhuji, I am not in any room right now. Prabhuji.
Okay, I've moved you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, me too also. Not for.
Yeah. Aruna Mataji, any problem in joining?
No, it's not coming, Prabhuji. It's only
Then why
black
you?
box is coming.
Sahil Beus Mataji joined. Okay. Hare Krishna. So all are back.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So hope you had a good discussion. So let us start with group 1. So who is coming forward today from group 1?
So, Prabhuji, in our breakout room activity, we discussed how the chapter 7 is linked to chapter 8.
Yeah.
So, basically, in the chapter 7, Krishna has introduced himself as the Lord. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the analogy that Prabhupada has used is the pearl on the thread. So, the entire universe is basically connected to Krishna. He's the essence as well as the cause of everything. He's the Sarvakarana Karanam. And then what are the 4 kinds of people who surrender to Krishna? What are the 4 kinds of people who do not surrender to Krishna? And in chapter 7, about the 2 main, we have Krishna has told about the demigod worshippers, that those are the less intelligent people, and then they worship the demigods to attain the quick results. However, the power to the demigods is given by Supreme Lord himself. And the Mayavadis think that Krishna is impersonal, but Krishna never reveals to such devotees. And chapter 8, so in chapter 7, Krishna has introduced himself. And now in chapter 8, Arjuna has several questions. And then he's asking all those questions to Krishna one by one, around 8 questions. And then Lord is revealing the answers to all these questions. So this is how these two chapters are connected, Prabhuji. And then one by one, Krishna will solve all the doubts of Arjun, and explain him how to attain him, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ultimately, remembering him at the time of the death, and is by like constant practicing, is the way to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what he's explaining.
Let us give some points for other 2 rooms. So room 2, who is coming forward?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I'm not able to. Who is that? Who is speaking? Just
Neha.
okay, Neha Mataji. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We discussed that from chapter 7, we have the knowledge about who is the absolute truth, and we know who are the Kritanas and everything. And in chapter 8, we learn how to practically apply that knowledge, and we can attain the Supreme Lord. So basically, chapter 7 is basically introduction about who Krishna is, and chapter 8 is practical application, how we can attain him. And also, chapter 7 is chapter 7 introduces terms like Brahman, Prayana, Kale, Adhyatma, etc. And in chapter 8, clarity and conclusion of these terms are given to Arjuna. So the doubts are clarified in this chapter. And also, the chapter 8 is a higher step from chapter 7. So having knowledge is a first step, and to apply that knowledge is the second step.
Exactly.
And we discussed various things like demigod worshippers, Dushkritina, Sukritina. So how they all can rise, that is discussed in chapters 8. So this was our discussion.
Very good, Mataji. Very nice points brought in. Room 3.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I think most of the points have been already covered. But yeah, a few points. Largely, Prabhuji, I think that chapter 7, Krishna is clearly, introducing himself in the depth, and us, and also, who can really, to whom he can reveal, and to whom he cannot reveal also, as explained, in the other groups actually, as a summary. And in the chapter 8, actually, Arjuna, Krishna started answering the questions of Arjuna very specifically in depth. And chapter 8 is more of re-emphasizing on the what Krishna has said in chapter 7, Prabhuji. So basically, it's I'm the supreme personality of Godhead, and whoever actually remembers me at the time of leaving the body, they can surely attain to me. It's actually a hammering effect, if you ask me, in the chapter 8. So I think that's where the chapter 7 and chapter 8 is highly linked in this way. And pious and non-pious people, as I think most of the points are already covered in the chapter 7, what has been told. Yeah, Prabhu.
Good. All
And the
three
Kannada
groups have
Mataji can also.
caught the key aspect of this connection. Now, the beauty of Bhagavad Gita is every shloka is interconnected. There are 700 shloka. Every shloka is interconnected. Every chapter is interconnected. And as most of you said, that chapter 7 is giving us the knowledge of absolute truth, right? Only we are all in ignorance. Only with the knowledge we will get an intelligence to discriminate what is right, what is wrong. From discrimination, we have to choose the right path and hold on to it with determination. And by the divine interference, we attain the Lord. So 3D formula we have discussed. So I'm trying to connect here. So chapter 7 gives the knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chapter 8 gives us the practical ways how to attain Krishna by engaging in devotional service and keeping our consciousness in Krishna consciousness and remembering Krishna at the time of death and going back to Krishna. So this is a beautiful connection between these two chapters. So I thought this clarity is very important before we are entering to a very important section, that is remembering Krishna at the time of death. So keep the hands raised for shloka recitation. Meanwhile, Nitasha Mataji, you wish to recite a very beautiful shloka.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Antakale chame evam smarana muktava kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti yatra samsaya.
Yeah. So Jyoti Mataji, can you unmute now and read this translation? If not, we'll go to Keshav Prabhu. Keshav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. So this is a very important shloka for all of us, which gives us the crux that we've been telling, remembering Krishna at the time of death. We will go back here. Krishna is declaring through this shloka that whoever at the time of death quit his body, remembering me alone, at once attain my nature. Of this there is no doubt. The important word here in this shloka is maranam, remembering Krishna. Yeah. Remembering Krishna at the time of death. How we can remember Krishna? Only way, all our scriptures, all our Guru Acharyas have given one way out, that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the only way, only way, only way. Yeah. And what is unique about this shloka? If you read the purport, what is uniqueness in this? Srila Prabhupada's purport, what is unique in this shloka? Hope some of you might have, as part of preparation, have read the purports. What is unique in this purport? Any guesses? Even wild guess is okay. What is unique?
There is no doubt he will surely attain Krishna nature.
The key thing from this shloka, what we understand is, in the purport, Prabhupada writes Hare Krishna Mahamantra 2 times. Yeah, Prabhupada is a pure devotee of the Lord when he is giving. Yeah, we need not have to reinvent the wheel again, right? So that is the emphasis. So Prabhupada is emphasizing constant chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Yeah. And then what is the lesson we learn from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? How we can constantly chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra?
Trinadapi Sunichena Tarurapi Saishruna Mani Ramanadena Kirtaniya
Kirtaniya
Sadahari.
Sadahari. So one in a state of humbleness, yeah, thinking oneself to be a lower than a grass, blade of a grass, and tolerant than a tree. One is being humble, second is being tolerant, and third important aspect of this sloka is giving respect to every living entity and not expecting respect in return. In this state of humility, one can constantly chant Kirtaniya Sadahari. Lord, we need to understand from this particular sloka. And as I've said, one of the most wonderful thing in this world, what is the most wonderful thing? This sloka here. Ahanyahani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam sheshastavaram icchanti kim ascharyam ataparam. It says, hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment, but foolish living being nonetheless think himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in this world. We have no urgency. We think we are going to live for next 30, 40, 50 years. And as said, death is the exam we have to clear, and this life is our preparation. The students who pass out in flying colors, they prepare every day, isn't it? Many those procrastinate, just open the book a day night before. Is very difficult, right? COVID has taught us a big lesson for all of us. The entire world were struggling with COVID. Many of them whom we never felt that is going to live have left. So those are all the times where most of us have come into Krishna consciousness. And in fact, last year there was a major train accident in India where 250 plus people lost their life. When they started their journey, nobody even thought that such a major accident is going to happen and 250 people is going to die. It's not only 250 people, 250 families got affected, right? So why we are talking about all these things is the key important aspect is urgency to progress in Krishna consciousness. If that endeavor is not there, once we know the knowledge, once we have the discrimination power to know what is right and what is wrong, and if you are not holding on to it very strongly and seriously practice this, then we will miss the bus. So next sloka, Kalpana Mataji, can you please read?
Hare Krishna. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tat bhava bhavitaha. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Praveen MS Prabhu, you wish to read the translation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Am I audible, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So here, couple of very important aspects we could bring through the purports of Srila Prabhupada. That one is the person who at the end of the life quit his body will go back to Krishna. And also it is not true that person, there is a misconception that whatever we think about, whatever we practice, even it could be demigod worship, we'll all go back to the same place. That itself is rejected here. And one more important thing, we all have heard about Bharata Maharaj, who left everything and tried to practice. And at the end, he gets attached to the deer, and next birth he has to take the birth of deer. So what are the two important lessons we have to take from this pastime?
Hare
Any
Krishna.
answers?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Uh, one is to remember the Lord at the time of the death.
Yes. Now, from this
Hare
Bharata and Deer story, what are the two important aspects for us? Yes,
Hare
remembering
Krishna,
Krishna
Prabhu.
is the important thing. I'm looking for
Hare
two
Krishna
more
Prabhuji.
specific answers.
Not to get
Padmini
attached
Mataji?
to this, not to get attached to this material.
Yes, perfect. One of the answer. He gets attached to the material body. Deer, it's just a body, right? But he got attached to it. What is the second? The first answer most of will get. Second answer is very, as part of preparation, I myself got it. So I thought, let me see what anybody else comes up with the answer. What is the second key thing we need to understand from this, from the life of Maharaja Bharat?
Not to forget God even for a moment.
Okay. Any other try? Let's
Prabhuji,
wait
Prabhu,
for
to
a round of
remain
to
in
applause.
get
the association of
deviated.
devotees.
Yes, who is that? Who said that? Who said that?
Shanti Swadesh Mataji.
Shanti Sudesh Mataji. Yes, Mataji. So, this is the key aspect we need to learn. We can't practice bhakti in isolation. We have to be under the association of devotees and shelter of our Guru Parampara. Only then we can stay steady in bhakti. This is a key important aspect. Yeah. I said, Bhakti Lata Beach. What is the watering process? Shravanam and Kirtanam is the watering process, right? Then what is Sadhu Sangha is known as? This Bhakti Lata Beach has to sprout and it has to go break through the material planet, spiritual sky and reach the lotus feet of the Lord. We have discussed this before. So Shravanam and Kirtanam is the watering process for this plant. What is Sadhu Sangha is compared to?
Favorable environment.
Favorable environment, yes. What more? In this context of plant sprouting and things, what do you do when the plant is, when you have sowed the seed and watering, after the
Obviously,
plant is coming out, what you do?
Spiritual
Prabhuji, one thing can be related here in Mumbai. In train, when we travel to Mumbai, it's so crowded that if we stand with the crowd, we get on the train, and even for getting down also, if we are with
Yes,
the crowd, automatically we will get down safely.
yes,
So that could be one reason that when we'll be in Sadhu Sangha,
yes,
though our soul and mind is not get connected, but through the journey, it's definite that we will reach there, and our mind and heart will also get connected to it.
yes. So,
मुझे खाद डालना खाद. It's like manure.
okay, good attempt. So, this Sadhu Sangha is compared to as the fencing of the plant. Yeah, the manure, everything is interconnected. So the point is the plant has to be protected, right? Otherwise, what happens? Some cow or anybody, something will come and eat off, or it will just get destroyed. So that way, if you are not in association of devotees, there is a great chance of falling down, or there is no further growth of spiritual. So that is the importance of Sadhu Sangha. And if you take out Bhagavad-gita, sit in an isolated place, try to read yourself, the realization is not up to what you get to learn Bhagavad-gita in association of devotees through these discussions. Yeah. So what we learn is, it is possible, one who is in mode of goodness, following four regulative principles, chanting the holy name, one can remember Krishna, and therefore the best process. Again and again, Srila Prabhupada in every sloka is emphasizing so much on chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the only successful process, best process. One can change one's state of being at the time when he's leaving the body. Let us move to the next sloka. Padmini Mataji, you want to recite this sloka?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhya cha mayyat pitamanu buddhe mame vaishyasya samshayah. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Madhuram Manasi Ganga Mataji, you used to read the translation for us.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. This shloka is so important. Shloka. It clearly gives directions how we have to live in our practical life, following our material responsibilities, how to engage in Krishna consciousness, how to progress in Krishna consciousness is very well given here. So here the instruction, what Krishna is giving, the first instruction is to always think of me in the form of Krishna, right? So the impersonalist who feels there is no form to Krishna or the Lord is getting defeated here. So we should always remember in the form of Krishna. Second is carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. So everybody here are fighting their own war, right? Everybody have their own responsibilities. Everybody have their own prescribed duties. So you have to continue. It is not that you run away from the responsibilities and take up bhakti. So this is the key important thing. And by doing that, when keeping Krishna in center and when we are engaging in our prescribed duties, then that intelligence manifests, and without doubt you will attain Krishna, is the lesson we learn from this particular shloka. Now let us move to the next shloka. Chanda Mataji, you wish to recite this shloka, please?
Yes, Prabhuji, I will try. अभ्यासयोगयुक्तेन चेतसा नान्यग. Actually, Prabhuji, I'm traveling and it's not visible properly.
It is not visible.
Damina pranamam purusham divyam yati parthanyuchintaya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Praveen K. Prabhu, can you please read this for us? Translation.
Hare Krishna. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me. Undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, Arjuna is sure to reach to me. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. So here, as our Acharya says, one of the tagline of ISKCON movement is always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Right? This is what we need to do. This is the goal of all our endeavors, all our services, practices, everything is for what? To remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. But the material nature itself is designed in such a way that we tend to forget our relationship with Krishna. Yeah. So the only best form of meditation is mantra meditation. Manatrayate iti mantra. Our mind is always contaminated with so many different thoughts. To control our mind, only way is chanting the holy name Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And what happens by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra? It actually purifies our heart. When the heart is purified, then we can fix up in Krishna consciousness. And one of the example Prabhupada gives in purport, just like a caterpillar, all its life thinks to become a butterfly, and in that lifetime itself, the caterpillar will be transformed to butterfly. Similarly, we should always remember Krishna, always remember to go back to our home, and then with our actions, as prescribed by our Guru Acharyas, we have to transform this material body into spiritual body. So here, the Lord Krishna stresses on importance of remembering, again smaranam, importance of remembering by practice. That is the importance of sadhana bhakti, what we are doing, importance of remembering Krishna. And also some of the key aspects we learn from this sloka is refutes inactivity. First thing in our neophyte stage, as soon as we take up bhakti, we think that this material world is of no use. All these responsibilities of no use. I have to leave everything and start bhakti. So it clearly refutes that never give up your prescribed duty. And how to think of Krishna in practical life? By constantly engaging in chanting and devotional service. And most effective way to remember is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And the one more important aspect is remembering in the form of Krishna is important. So now we will move to the next section. Last 15 minutes, we'll try to cover a few more sloka. So here, remembering Krishna in different ways. One is through Yoga Mishra Bhakti as well as Kevala, pure devotion, will be touched upon as we progress. So, who wishes to take up sloka? Kalpana Mataji, you can go ahead.
कवि पुराणम् अनुशासितारम् मनोरणीयं मनुस्मरेद्यः सर्वस्य दातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात्. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Shivakumar Prabhuji, you wish to read the translation for us?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is the smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all our material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental, he is beyond this material nature. Thank you,
Hare Krishna. So we are emphasizing so much on remembering Krishna. So here Krishna also gives us how should we remember. When we are thinking about Krishna, what should come to our mind? What should come to our heart? We can see here. So one of the foremost point is he is not impersonal. Lord is Purusha, he is person. So here the different ways we can remember Krishna. He is known as Kavim. What is Kavim? He is the knower of past, present and future. And Puranam. He is the oldest personality. He is the origin of everything. As we know, Brahma is the creator of this universe. The creator of Brahma is the Supreme Lord. And second is Anu Ashritam. He is the controller of everything. Every living entity is being controlled by the Supreme Lord. And the Anor Aniyam Sam, that is, he is the smaller than the smallest. Even the smallest of living entity, Krishna resides in that entity as a Paramatma, right? And he is the Dhataram, maintainer. When you know from the sloka Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam, when you know Krishna is our maintainer, why we should be anxious about? What are we anxious about? And Rupam, this is important, as we said, he is always a person. And Achintya, this is again a very important aspect, that Krishna is inconceivable. As said before, more we learn Bhagavadgita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, more we understand that we don't know anything about the Lord. So what is important is to serve the Lord in such a way that Lord sees us, not our endeavors to see the Lord. and luminous. All the lights from the sun and moon, everything is coming from Krishna, and Tamasa Parasat is transcendental beyond this material nature. Now we'll go to the next sloka. Keshav Prabhu, you want to
Shall I
read the
read,
translation?
Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji. Your digital hand is not raised.
It's okay.
Tarini Mataji, you can go ahead.
Okay. प्रयाण काले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणम् आवेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषम् उपैति दिव्यम्.
Yes. So Aruna Mataji, can you please read the translation, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. One who at the time of death fixes his life hair between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. So here, fixing up our mind at the time of death in devotion is what prescribed, and different ways is being discussed here. One is through Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So here, the Ashtanga yogis, how they do, based on the Satchakra Yoga involving the meditation of 6 chakras is being mentioned here. Whereas the pure devotee does not practice any such yoga because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness through engaging in unalloyed devotional service. And one of the key word which is significant is yoga balena. You have to practice some kind of yoga, right? Just knowing you have to remember at the end of the lifetime, you have to remember Krishna, and nobody practice anything and think that at the time of death I will remember Krishna and go back. That does not happen. So here, through yoga balena, so some form of yoga is prescribed, but for the devotees, what yoga is prescribed is bhakti yoga. So next 2 sloka, Kalpana Mataji, you can read both the slokas.
Hare Krishna. Ji.
Yes.
Yet aktaram veda vido vadanti vishanti yat yatayo vitaragaha yad icchanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुद्य च मूर्ध्याध्यात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम्. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. So who else is left out? Shweta Mataji, to read the translation, please.
Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one 8.12, the yogic situation is their detachment, is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, through these 2 slokas, Krishna is explaining how an Ashtanga yogi is trying to fix up his mind. So what they are doing by following Satchakra yoga, trying to place the life air between the eyebrows and free from all sense pleasures, material attachments, they are trying to fix up. And the Vedic students are taught to vibrate Omkara, the sound vibration, and practicing celibacy for further their spiritual advancement. So this is the practice it is being taught. Whereas in the age of Kali, we discussed no process of realizing the Lord is practical other than chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is also recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all these things, whatever these yogis are practicing, Okay, practicing celibacy, not attached to sense enjoyments, material attachments, and fixing up, trying to focus on Krishna. All these things is happening naturally with the devotees. How devotees live as if sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So he is free from all material designations, free from all sense enjoying, and engaging his senses. How is he purifying his sense enjoying propensities? He is not controlling it. He is engaging his senses in service of the Lord, diverting that sense enjoyment towards the service of the Lord. Through that, he is purifying and fixing up at Krishna consciousness. So we will touch upon last sloka, and then we can wind up for the day. Saheli Bose Mataji, you want to recite this sloka? Voice is pretty low, Mataji. Your voice is pretty low.
Is it okay now?
Now better.
Yes. Should I explain once more?
Yeah, recite once more.
Yes, Prabhuji. Om iti aksharam brahma vaiharanmam anushmaran ya prayati taijan deham sa yati paramam gatim.
Thank
Is
you,
it
Mataji.
okay, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji. Shravani Mataji, last sloka for the day you used to recite, translate for us. Read the translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I didn't see the translation here.
Right hand side, you can't see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme continuation, the supreme combination of letters. If one thinks of the supreme personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the fifth spiritual planets. Bhagavadgita 8.13. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, all these Ashtanga yogis are trying to recite the sound vibration, the Omkara, which is impersonal sound vibration of the Lord. Whereas Srila Prabhupada says the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what we recite, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and Krishna himself is non-different. Right? Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. And chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only way which is recommended in age of Kali. And one who quits his body chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, remembering the Lord, is certainly to go back to Krishna, is what we understand. And various practices of Yoga Mishra Bhakti, we discussed. They start with Satchakra Yoga and controlling all the chakras, and then chant the Homkara, renounce from the sense gratification activity, and they try to fix up their mind, the lotus feet of the Lord. And as we learned that Ashtanga Yoga, they meditate on the Paramatma feature, whereas the devotees through devotional service, they engage the Lord, and to the personal form of the Lord, they engage the services and go back to Krishna. So this is, so here we will stop our discussion, and further section, Krishna will give us the supremacy, what is supreme, whether it is Yoga Mishra Bhakti or unalloyed devotional service. We will discuss in our next session. So any quick questions, any realizations we can discuss for a couple of minutes, and then we can stop.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Prabhuji, in Christianity also, the prayers say, thy will be done. thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So it's the same, na Prabhuji, when we are remembering the Lord as the Supreme, whether it's in our material endeavors, our spiritual endeavors, we always say, may your will prevail and may you control us, may you control our lives, our functions, our progress. Everything is surrendered unto you. So that supremacy